العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. سبحانك لا فهم لنا إلا ما فهمتنا إنك أنت الجواد الكريم وقرر بالزلي الماء. قال الإمام النووي رحمه الله تبارك وتعالى ونفعنا بعلومه في الدارين. قالوا عن سلمان بن عمرو رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: إذا أفطر أحدكم فليفطر على تمر فإنه بركة، فإن لم يجد تمرا فالماء فإنه طهور. وقال: الصدقة على المسكين صدقة وعلى ذي الرحم ثنتان، صدقة وصلة. رواه الترمذي وقال حديث حسن. So continuing with the chapter of kindness to the parents and relatives here again, specifically to the generality of the relatives. So this is a riwayat of Salman ibn Amr radiallahu anhu. He says that Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said that when you will break your fast, aftara, when you will break your fast, or one of you breaks his fast, فَلْيُفْتِرْ عَلَى التَّمْرِ. So he should break his fast on tamar. Now, even though this is not really connected to kindness to the relatives, but the kindness to yourself. And in this context, because it's part of a hadith that mentions kindness thereafter to the relatives. However, having mentioned that, I would strongly suggest, as I did with Ramadan just on the door, and as I strongly suggested to our brothers and sisters previously, and I continue to do so, when we are in the state of fasting, so it means that we have now gone into what you could term as a digestive sleep mode. In other words, for 12, 14, 16 hours, whatever the case, depending on the length of the day, you have discontinued eating and drinking. So what happens is your body, your digestive system, and your whole body actually, it goes into a type of sleep mode. Your digestive system just sort of shuts down. Now you need to wake it up. Now when we break our fast, we are actually coming out of this sleep mode. Now if you're bombarding it, we're just defeating the whole purpose, right? And it's very, very severe on the body itself. Physically, it's very severe. Secondly, and perhaps even more importantly, it's very severe on the spiritual condition that we have now sought to develop throughout the entire day. And probably if you just reflect a little bit, when before Maghrib and everybody is now, after 12, 14, 16 hours of fasting, people in the masjid and they're with hands elevated and the tears rolling from the eyes, and everyone is in a very sensitive, spiritual state. And then when we break the fast with the conventional fast breaking, which is really breaking the fast with all types of fried foods and this and that and this huge array of things which are totally non-congruent with the whole spirit of Ramadan and very, very actually detrimental to human health, period, right? And so what happens is everybody can just sort of sense their pulse of their sensitivity. Now when you stand up for Salat al-Maghrib, was it anything like Salat al-Asr? Heavy stomach, people burping, and it's terrible. So look at what Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told us. He said, if any of you are going to break your fast, we're talking about sunnah. This is a very important sunnah. And now, nafs is now kicking in. We had control for the whole day. Now nafs at that point is just trying to, really get back at us. Right? So if we just follow this very simple sunnah, it has so many benefits. That's not the issue right in here, and we'll talk about that more when Ramadan actually comes. But since it came in the hadith, so I want to point that out, because we really have a problem with this. And so if we follow the sunnah, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, and this is also the sigat al-amr, فَلْيُفْتِرْ, it's in the command tense, right? In other words, this is important. Then break your fast on a tamra, because it's barakah. And we don't want to go into all of that, but we will later on, inshallah, at a proper point. We'll also talk about that scientifically. Why are dates so? It is the absolute most perfect thing to break your fast with, and we'll talk about it some other place. Okay, so may Allah give me and all of us tawfiq for that. It remains to be a big challenge, for most of us. So the second part of the hadith, which is actually connected to our the topic of the chapter. However, there's a second portion. I'm sorry. فَإِنْ لَمْ يَجِدْ تَمْرًا فَالْمَاءُ فِيهِ طَهُورٌ. So if you don't find a tamr, which not all the time they used to find, so then what? So drink some water, because it is tahur, it is a purity, it detoxifies, it has so many great benefits. Anyway, so if you don't have a tamra, then ma. So Allah give us tawfiq to follow in these footsteps in letter and spirit. Okay, now what is connected to the chapter itself? وَقَالْ وَالصَّدَقَةُ عَلَى الْمِسْكِينِ صَدَقَةٌ. So if you give a sadaqah, charity, which is now the connection to the chapter. If you give a charity to any poor person or needy person, it's a charity, no doubt, a very good action. However, if you will give this charity to a relative, so you have two virtues. One, giving charity, and then secondly, of giving that charity and being to the relative, so you have silat al-rahim, you have connecting and kindness to the relatives as well. So therefore, if we have a sadaqah, we first see who are the closest to us, because they have more rights to us as well. So we see the closer and then radiate outwards before we start spending on the other side of the world. Maybe our own relative, our own neighbor right next to us is in need, so they are to be attended first. Of course, there are other situations where, like for example, Southern California, the need of people is really not so severe as perhaps needs of these people have been, ostracized and set out of their rooms, their countries destroyed. That's another issue. However, this is a basic principle that we can try and understand and implement. Amin thumma amin wa akhir da'wana. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.